All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful inventions in human history. It's ancient, it's simple, and you probably have it sitting by your sink right now. Yep, it's a bar of soap. We see it as this gentle, soothing thing, right? But for the invisible enemies on our skin, well, for them, it's a weapon of mass destruction. So how does this everyday object unleash total chaos on a microscopic level? Let's dive in.
I mean, really think about it. For us, soap is all about pleasant smells and soft bubbles. But what if you could shrink down to the size of a virus? Your perspective would change dramatically. You'd see soap for what it truly is, a relentless, brutally efficient, microscopic killer. The question is, how?
So what's the secret to soap's incredible power? Well, it's not magic, it's pure chemistry. And it all comes down to the really unique, kind of weird hybrid structure of the soap molecule itself.
Okay, so imagine a soap molecule is like a tiny pin-shaped double agent. It has a split personality. One end, the hydrophilic head, absolutely loves water. Can't get enough of it. But the other end, the hydrophobic tail, despises water, hates it. But you know what it loves? Fats and oils. And this exact conflict is the secret to its awesome power.
So when you lather up with soap and water, these little double agents perform an amazing trick. To protect their water-hating tails, they team up and form these tiny spherical cages called micelles. The tails all hide on the inside, away from the water, while the water-loving heads form the protective outer shell. And these little cages, they are absolutely essential for trapping dirt and, more importantly, germs.
All right, so now that we get the whole double agent thing, let's see these molecules in action. How do these tiny structures actually wage war on the germs that are all over your skin?
Well, it turns out a lot of the pathogens we worry about most, viruses like coronaviruses, HIV, Ebola, and many bacteria, have a fatal weakness. They're all wrapped up in a fatty outer layer, a sort of armor called a lipid membrane. But that armor is also their Achilles heel, because it's made of the one thing soap's water-hating tails are dying to get their hands on: fat. This quote from Professor Paul Thorderson just nails it. The soap molecules act like tiny molecular crowbars. Their fat-loving tails are so desperate to get away from the water that they literally jam themselves into the virus's fatty membrane and just pry it apart from the inside out. It's a brutal, mechanical attack. So here's the entire attack sequence broken down into 4 simple steps. First, the soap molecules swarm the germs. Step 2, those crowbar-like tails wedge themselves into the germ's outer layer and tear it open. Step 3, the micelles, those little cages we talked about, snap shut, trapping all the dirt and the destroyed germ bits inside. And finally, step 4, you rinse, and the water grabs onto the micelles' water-loving heads and washes the whole mess right down the drain. Game over.
Okay, soap is clearly a powerhouse, but that brings up a really common question. How does it stack up against hand sanitizer? It's time for a little head-to-head showdown.
Look, hand sanitizers with over 60% alcohol are definitely good in a pinch. They're great at destroying those germs with the fatty membranes, just like soap. But here is the crucial difference. Sanitizer can't physically remove germs from your skin. They just kill some of them and leave them there. Plus, they're not nearly as good against tougher microbes like the rhinoviruses that cause the common cold. Soap and water, though, it destroys the vulnerable germs and physically scrubs away the tough ones. It does both.
So the verdict is in, and it's not even close. That simple, old-fashioned mechanical action of scrubbing with soap and rinsing with water is just flat out better. Why? Because it doesn't just kill germs, it physically evicts them from your skin. Sanitizer is a good backup, for sure, but soap and water will always be the champion.
Now, let's zoom out from this molecular battlefield for a second, because the simple act of washing your hands has a totally fascinating history and a profound impact on every single one of us.
And what's absolutely wild is how recently we figured this all out. Back in the 1840s, a doctor named Ignaz Semmelweis proved that hand washing saved his patients' lives, and his colleagues basically laughed him out of the profession. It took until the 1980s, yes, the 1980s, for the CDC to issue the first official national hand hygiene guidelines. We've had this incredibly powerful tool for thousands of years, but we've only just recently learned how to really use it.
And why is this so critical? Well, because we are constantly giving germs a free ride into our bodies. Think about this. One study found that people touch their faces, on average, once every 2.5 minutes. That's a lot. And every single one of those touches is a potential invitation for an infection.
This brings us to this really beautiful paradox about soap. At the microscopic level, its entire purpose is destruction. It's designed to break things apart, to pry open and demolish. But on the societal level, that same destructive power does the complete opposite. It helps build a communal safety net. It helps hold everything and everyone together.
When it comes down to it, it's all about this one simple idea. When you wash your hands, you're not just protecting you. You're breaking a chain of transmission that could reach the most vulnerable people in your community. It's not just a metaphor. Other people's lives are quite literally in your hands.
So the next time you're standing at the sink, lathering up, just take a second. Remember that invisible war you're waging. It's not just some gentle foam. It's an army of molecular crowbars, and it's one of the most elegant and powerful tools we have to protect ourselves and each other. Will you ever look at it the same way again?